Now that Aaron Rodgers has officially signed with the Steelers, what are the expectations for the Steelers this season? In my opinion, the Steelers could have probably made the playoffs with Mason Rudolph. So, with a signing like this is an indication that the Steelers want a little bit more than making the playoffs. You know, take a swing at it, take a bite out of your apple, all that good stuff. Steelers last year made the playoffs with Russell Wilson, 10-win team. You know, is Aaron Rodgers better than Russell Wilson at this point? Now, we all know, you know, the overall body of work. Yes, that's a no-brainer. But we're talking about at this point, Russell got you to the playoffs, wasn't good enough to get a win, get over the hump. You know, as a one win, you know, it should be more than that, but that's what it is right now. The drought and all that good stuff. So Russell couldn't get it done, so now you go to Aaron Rodgers. You know, he got all the accolades as the, you know, best thrower of the football and things like that. You know, is that going to translate to a playoff win? You would like to have more than one, but you got to start somewhere. And if you look at it, start off with the division. Aaron Rodgers probably is, well, he is the third best quarterback, you know, third quarterback in the division behind Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson. He's probably going to be better than what Cleveland, you know, has to offer. You know, they have a lot of quarterbacks, Shador Sanders and, you know, Flacco, Pickett in there and things. So is Cleveland's the wild card. You're probably going to be in contention, you know, in the AFC North, you know, this season. Cincinnati did bring the band back with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Chase and things like that. Three-headed monster, you could say, but there's no defense. The defense is falling off by the day, and you're going to have to stop somebody. You know, Chase and Burrow and them could put up 43. The defense could give up 44. You know, so I don't think they're going to be, you know, the juggernaut and things like that. So you're just going to have to worry about the Ravens, and they're just getting better. You know, Henry ain't going nowhere. Jackson ain't going nowhere. Added some pieces in the draft on the defensive side. So, and their quarterback play is better than the Steelers' quarterback play. We know that. So that's where you lie, probably, you know, in the conversation, you know, in the contention, first or second in the AFC North. How you shake out outside the AFC North? Well, the Steelers had, you know, had a rough stretch last year with 3 games and a 10-11 game stretch. You know, Baltimore Ravens being one of those teams. Kansas City Chiefs and the Eagles in the mix as well, and it didn't go well for the Steelers. You know, and I know Bart Scott's one of the people that think that Aaron Rodgers will give the Steelers, you know, a chance against those teams, those better teams, you know, more talented teams. Others aren't, you know, as enthused about the signing as well. That's what anything in sports is always going to be, you know, mixed opinions, mixed reviews and everything. And that's why this signing right here, this is what it brings, you know, the expectation now that Rodgers is in town. You know, when you bring in a guy like that, you know, it's you got to have some expectations, and you got to want to go for. You got Cam Hayward, you know, TJ Watt, guys that wanted Russell Wilson in the building because, you know, they want to try to win something. So you bring in a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and that's saying, that's giving them a sign and say, hey, we didn't forget about you. You know, we didn't forget about you. We're trying to get you over the hump before it's all over. You know, but there's a few things, you know, that's question marks with Aaron Rodgers. I know that at the end of the last season he was cooking. You know, he started to come back alive, and people say that Achilles is starting to feel a little bit better. You see Aaron doing some things. You know, will that translate into this season with the Steelers? Because they're going to need that in that division, and just the AFC as a whole. You know, it's just a juggernaut conference. So, can that translate? You know, and that's why a lot of people wanted Aaron Rodgers in, you know, the facility early to get on the same page with the guys and to get clicking and to build off of that, you know. Or is Father Time going to wrap his arms around Aaron Rodgers, you know, for the last time, and that be it, you know? So there is some life There's something to be a little optimistic about looking at the last few games of Aaron Rodgers last year. Hey man, there's a little bit. There's a little bit we could squeeze a little bit out. The last little bit out, we could squeeze it, and hopefully that translate into some playoff wins. And you never know. You want to try to create that. Hey man, the defense play. The defense. Hey man, if the defense can play like they know, like people know the Steelers D can play, normally play. Used to them playing. And things like that. That offensive line hey man, the Steelers are trying to acquire some more talent on the offensive side. Got rid of George Pickens, but you see, every time you look around, there's a playmaker that the Steelers are interested in. They said they were interested in Chris Godwin. That's going around. Godwin, Pitts, the tight end thing is floating John O. Smith, Pitts. I know Pitts is familiar with Arthur Smith and things like that. So they're on the move. They're still looking for playmakers and things like that. So it can be one of those scenarios that say, hey, what if? You catch lightning in a bottle, that saying and things. And if everything is clicking and you're rolling towards the end and you're going into the playoffs rolling, not like last season when things just collapsed and then you knew going into that game, man, against the Ravens. I mean, that was just a hell of a matchup as it was. But just the way that they were playing, you can't go into the playoffs like that, man. If you can catch it and get things rolling, Aaron Rodgers, man, come back to form just slightly. We don't need the MVP. Well, you would hope, but we know that's over. But we need, that steady Eddie Rodgers. Oh, man. Who knows, man? It can be, but those are the what ifs. Those are the question marks. And that's what makes this signing in this season, so exciting, because it's going to be must-see TV. The Steelers and Rodgers, man, and Tomlin and Rodgers, man, and Rodgers and the receivers, is he going to throw people under the bus? Things like that. If things don't go well, what's happening? Would Tomlin ever have do we have the stones to bench Rodgers, man? I mean, what's going to happen? All that, but the ultimate question mark is, how is he going to perform? The storylines are going to be there because it's Rodgers, but the ultimate thing is, how is he going to perform in the black and gold? The expectations. It's a playoff drought. It's a playoff drought with the Steelers. And the expectations, I believe, is to get rid of that. Get rid of that and build from there. But one playoff win shouldn't be the expectation, not when you're the Steelers. But things took a turn throughout the years. Not no steady quarterback play, which brings us to right here. The Aaron Rodgers signing. Nobody after Big Ben. The Kenny Pickett thing blew up. And now you have Rodgers and the Steelers, and which is going to be exciting to see. It's hard to really give predictions about it because it's so many different, but we know the expectations. The expectations is to win a playoff game, but like I said, it should be more than one. But you gotta start, But it's hard, man. I think after training camp and you see Rodgers moving around with the guys and things, and you starting to see how he's moving, you can kind of feel more comfortable with a prediction about how he's going to do, and you can give a accurate, opinion. But right now, it's like because you have to go with what you're seeing at the last portion of the season. Only good as your last game, only good as your last showings and all that good stuff. And his last showings was pretty decent. So if you take that and you put it with a nice training camp, and things like that. That's why OTAs and all that is important, man. And then you can say with those two, all right, he still looks like he still got a little bit like he did in the season. I can see us winning this many games or that many games, but until then, in my opinion, this is where the Steelers are when you don't have, thought you had the plan with Kenny Pickett, but when shows you when you mess up on those draft picks, it'll put you in a place like this, holding on to a guy, maybe you're holding on, maybe you're not. That's the thing. It's holding on if he's still, and it's holding on if he ain't got it. And it's like, man, it's like y'all dug him out the grave, man. Let him go, It's holding on, but if he still got it, man, it'd be one of the best moves they can do. But I tell you one thing, it's going to be a must-see season for the Steelers for all the above, starting with his old team, the Jets. So let me know what you guys think about the Aaron Rodgers signing, the expectations, all that good stuff. Is Aaron Rodgers going to take the Steelers where they need to go? First of all, you got to get that playoff drought out the way. Get that one playoff win it may be. You could ride the wave all the way, to the sand. But that is to be seen, and that's why you play the game on Sundays, to get the results, and everything else is just hearsay, right? So thanks for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to get all the new videos, and until next time.